Hey rail fans, we've got something huge to talk about today. If you've been following the saga of the Peninsula commuter line creeping closer to downtown San Francisco, you'll want to hear this. The latest update on the Caltrain extension is a game changer, and not just for transit planners. It's a big deal for thousands of commuters who've been dreaming of smoother, faster connections. Stick around as Great Train Speed unpacks what's new and why it matters. Think of this as Caltrain's long-awaited last mile into downtown. Instead of stopping at 4th and King trains, we'll dive into a new 1.3-1.5 mile underground spur straight to the station beneath the Salesforce Transit Center. Yes, the big Transbay hub with the rooftop park. The tunnel brings you right into the city's core with easy handoffs to BART Muni and a web of bus lines with no extra surface shuffle needed. What's neat is the train box under the transit center is already there waiting for tracks and trains. This project doesn't just help today's commute, and it sets the stage for tomorrow's upgrades, including high-speed rail. You'll hear it called the Downtown Rail Extension or simply the Portal. It's being delivered by the Transbay Joint Powers Authority with Caltrain and regional partners. Bottom line, hop on in the peninsula, roll directly into downtown, save time, skip transfers, and help take a little pressure off city streets. Its purpose of the new extension is very simple. Board from the peninsula ride straight into downtown, get there faster, skip the hassle of extra transfers, and ease some of the traffic on city roads. But Caltrain isn't stopping there. Exciting changes are on the horizon, and passengers are in for a treat. If you're curious about what's next in the world of trains, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. Here's the big takeaway. The Caltrain downtown extension just got cheaper. The 2023 estimate of about $8.25 billion is now pegged at $7.6 billion, a drop of roughly $650 million, about 8%. Those savings come from trimming certain features or reserving them for future high-speed rail. Why this matters, it shows tighter planning signals to funders that costs are being managed, and it also gives today's inflation and downward revision on a mega project a welcome sight. It's worth taking a closer look at how this cost reduction happened because it reveals a lot about the way major transportation projects evolve. These aren't just accounting adjustments, they show a maturing project's sharper management and lessons learned from years of planning. The first factor is scope refinement. The project team took a hard look at which elements were essential for Caltrain's near-term operations and which belonged to future high-speed rail service. Certain features like platform adjustments, tunnel connections, or systems integration were either scaled back or shifted to the later high-speed phase. By deferring those pieces, the team reduced the amount that needs to be built right now, reducing the upfront cost while preserving the main goal, extending Caltrain service into downtown San Francisco. Second, design progress played a major role. Early estimates often include large contingency allowances to cover the unknowns that come with complex underground construction. As the design advanced into the detailed engineering phase, those uncertainties shrank. Updated geological surveys, refined tunnel alignments, and clearer construction methods all allowed for more accurate and often lower-cost projections. In simple terms, the project is now better defined, so the financial picture is too. A third element is strategic clarity. By drawing a sharper line between Caltrain's present-day service and the eventual arrival of California high-speed rail planners avoided the temptation to overbuild. Instead of designing one giant system to handle everything from day one, they're building what's needed now while making sure the structure can handle future upgrades later. That approach reduces financial risk, keeps contractors focused on immediate deliverables, and prevents the kind of scope creep that often drives megaproject budgets upward. When you put it all together, it's straightforward with a tighter scope, a more polished design, and a clearer plan. The destination doesn't change, it just gets smarter and for less money. So bottom line, is this a real step forward or just a short-term blip for Caltrain? Let's dig into it in the next part. Even with this extension trending cheaper, the bigger picture around Caltrain's capital program is tougher. Other projects have run into rising costs. Take the long-planned Broadway grade separation in Burlingame, often cited as one of California's riskier crossings. Its estimate jumped from about $316 million in 2022 to as high as $889 million in 2025. Even a scaled-back option still lands around $615 million. In San Jose, repairs to the Guadalupe River Bridge also climbed by roughly $107 million. Why mention this? Big rail jobs everywhere are feeling pressure from inflation, labor, materials, and layers of regulation. That's exactly why a cost drop on the downtown extension stands out. Funding is the hard part. The previous $8.25 billion plan assumed roughly $3.38 billion from the FTA's capital investment grants, with the balance from state, regional, local, and developer sources. The project may be shovel-ready, but the team is deliberately pacing work to match dollars actually in hand. And in today's federal climate, grants face intense scrutiny, timelines slip, and even signed agreements can wobble, so what looks committed on paper still has to run a gauntlet of bureaucratic and political headwinds before it turns into cash. That's why the risks are real even after encouraging cost revision. Federal funds aren't guaranteed. A policy shift or procedural hiccup can delay or shrink key awards. Inflation is another wild card. Yes, this estimate went down, but labor and materials remain volatile, and recent Caltrain projects show how quickly prices can squeeze a budget. Some scope was trimmed or deferred to save money. If those features, station finishes, extra connections, or added tunnel work become necessary later, cost creep returns. The schedule carries exposure too. Aiming for around 2035 leaves more than a decade for economic cycles, regulatory changes, and leadership turnover to affect execution. Meanwhile, parts of the local match aren't fully locked. If regional revenues soften or priorities shift, delays or scope cuts are back on the table. Add the human factor, like permits, environmental reviews, labor markets, community pushbacks, and you have more ways for costs and timelines to slip. The trajectory is positive, but staying on time and on budget will take tight scope control, steady funding, and disciplined follow-through. All of this plays out over a long horizon. Service to the Salesforce Transit Center is projected around 2035, so lining up and sustaining the financing over the next decade will be a major part of the job. Do you think Caltrain can actually keep its funding steady for that long? Drop one if you think it can. And if you have another thought, we would love to hear your idea. Public opinion online is all over the map. On one end, you've got the just get it done crowd people who see the downtown connection as overdue and worth closing out. On the other hand, skeptics zero in on the price tag. Paying something like $8 billion for 1.5 miles reads as excessive to them. They also question the need, pointing out that riders can already reach downtown via the T3rd to Powell or hop the N Judah from 4th and Townsend, with current and future BART Caltrain links covering the big transfer moves. Some argue the moment has passed that this would have made more sense years ago, and they doubt the Salesforce Transit Center offers enough useful connections to justify the spend. Between those poles sits a quieter middle folks who like the idea of a one-seat ride to the core, but want clearer proof of time savings, real interline connections at Salesforce, and a tighter cost story before they buy in. The Caltrain downtown extension's cost drop from about $8.25 billion to $7.6 billion is genuinely good news. It suggests a stronger footing in a tough construction climate and unlocks real benefits: faster downtown access, smoother regional connections, future high-speed rail readiness, and smarter land use. But the job isn't done. Funding isn't fully secured. Federal grants face scrutiny, inflation still bites, and the timeline is long, so pacing work to money in hand is prudent. If the team manages those risks, this could be a transformative piece of Bay Area infrastructure. The new estimate points out the right way. Now comes the test of turning plans into trains. Big news alert! The DC Metro has just made a massive announcement that's sending shockwaves through the city's transit system. Whether you're a daily commuter or just Metro curious, this update might surprise you. Tune in to Great Train Speed for your front row seat to everything on track. The Washington Metro plays a vital role in the transportation network of the Washington metropolitan area. Operated by the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, which also manages the Metrobus system, the Metro has been serving commuters since its launch in 1976. Today, it spans 6 lines, 98 stations, and 130 miles of track, connecting Washington, D.C. with neighboring regions in Maryland and Virginia. In 2024, the Metro recorded an impressive ridership, averaging about 668,000 weekday trips in the second quarter of 2025. These figures place it as the second busiest heavy rail rapid transit system in the United States, following the New York City subway, and fifth overall in North America. Such numbers reflect the Metro's importance in daily life, offering a reliable and efficient alternative to road travel. Recently, DC Metro made a major announcement regarding ridership that hints at exciting developments ahead. While full details are yet to be revealed, early reports suggest a new initiative or milestone that could reshape how the Metro serves its passengers. Whether it's a surge in ridership, expanded service, or technological upgrades, this news marks a significant moment in the system's evolution. If you're intrigued by the future of transit and want to stay informed about what's next for the Metro, be sure to subscribe and follow along. There's more to discover, and the journey is just beginning. In Boston on September 16th, the American Public Transportation Association gathered the industry for its Transform Conference and with it, the 2025 APTA Awards, a yearly moment that takes stock of what's working across U.S. transit. This year's summit had a clear headline. The Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority earned APTA's 2025 Outstanding Public Transit Agency of the Year. It's the first time in nearly 3 decades that Metro has taken home this top honor, and it arrives after a sustained period of service recovery, safety improvements, and visible upgrades across rail and bus. APTA's process is rigorous. While agencies are weighed against a dozen metrics that mix the quantitative with ridership growth, safety performance, cost control, with the day-to-day realities riders notice most, like operational reliability, station information, and customer service. Metro's case was built on record customer satisfaction and strong ridership gains, a wholesale redesign of the Metrobus network, a dramatic ramp-up in rail service, 7 newly opened stations, and a wave of rider-facing improvements from clearer wayfinding to more digital displays. On safety, the results were just as notable, with an 8-year low in crime, a steep drop in fare evasion, and the launch of an in-house police academy that signals a long-term approach to training and standards. Scale matters here. Metro moves more than 50 million trips a year, placing the network in APTA's highest tier. That volume comes with complex constraints, busy transfer hubs, federal commute patterns, dense urban stations, and the award recognizes an agency that has not only kept the system moving through a post-pandemic recovery, but has done so while improving reliability and the rider experience. Just as important, Metro's win highlights collaboration. The agency also received APTA's Outstanding Partnership in Public Transportation for its work with Kimley Horn and Foursquare Integrated Transportation Planning, a teaming that has powered the Better Bus initiative and sharpened long-range system planning. None of this arrives in a vacuum. Metro has a long history of national recognition, Outstanding Public Transportation System in 1987 and 1997, Innovation Awards in 1986, 2004, and 2012, and Gold Safety Awards in 2024 and 2025, so this year's honor also reads as a return to form, a reminder of what the capital's network can achieve when strategy, investment, and operations align. And the obvious question for viewers and riders is simple. Does Metro's year earn the Best in North America label? Some will say yes, others will point to favorite systems elsewhere, but the common thread is encouraging performance is rising and the standard is getting higher. Separate from the trophies, but closely related to them, Metro's fiscal story in 2025 is one of renewed strength. The agency closed fiscal year 2025 with $120 million in savings and record ridership, results that speak to both operational discipline and recovering demand across the region. The headline numbers are clear. 264 million total trips, up 9% year over year and 16% above budget projections, with $462 million in passenger revenue, reflecting the system's daily role in the lives of commuters, students, and visitors. Rail carried 139 million trips, Buses carried 124 million. Taken together, the network is not just back, it is growing. How did the savings materialize without eroding service? Metro combined one-time reductions with durable efficiency measures. Of the $120 million total, $28 million came from immediate operating cuts, the kind of targeted moves that trim overhead without touching reliability. The remaining $92 million didn't simply vanish into the balance sheet, it was reinvested in the 6-year capital program, the long-range plan that fuels new rolling stock, station upgrades, systems modernization, and the kind of behind-the-scenes work, power, signals, and communications that make a high-frequency operation feel effortless to riders. A dedicated cost-efficiency task force drove $50 million in recurring savings, with wage freezes across non-represented staff and 2 of the largest unions contributing another $38 million. Service optimization, a phrase that covers everything from smarter block assignments to tighter layover management, added about $20 million more. The through line is simple: spend smarter, protect core frequency, and push resources toward assets that riders actually experience on the platform and on board. Those choices showed up in the product. Fiscal year 2025 brought back automatic train operation after a 15-year pause, a change that improves consistency and helps trains accelerate and brake smoothly across the lines, small gains stacked over thousands of trips. Contactless payment continued its rollout, collapsing friction at the fare gate and on the bus by letting riders tap once and move. Stations felt more modern as fare gates were upgraded across all 98 Metro Rail stations, while buses received new fare boxes at scale. Accessibility moved forward with the delivery of 185 new Metro Access minivans and 49 next-generation vehicles, broadening capacity and improving reliability for riders who depend on paratransit. The rail fleet saw major scheduled work, including wheelset replacements on 358 7000 series cars, another example of back-of-house maintenance that riders experience as fewer delays and smoother trips. Even cleanliness, often overlooked until it's missing, became a point of pride, with the International Sanitary Supply Association naming Metro the inaugural spotless space of the year. None of this is flashy on its own, but together it produces the feeling riders notice. Trains that arrive when they're supposed to, stations that are easier to read, buses that connect the grid with fewer surprises. Finances and operations feed into each other. Rising ridership helps the bottom line. Thoughtful cost management creates room to invest. Visible investments build trust and pull more riders onto the system. Metro's leadership called out exactly that loop. We move more people, save more money, and reinvest it in the system our region depends on, Randy Clark said, drawing a line between efficiency and experience. The plan heading into fiscal year 2026 builds on this momentum. Peak Metro Rail capacity is slated to increase to match growing demand, weekend service hours will stretch to fit real travel patterns, and half of the Yellow Line trains will be lengthened to Greenbelt, beginning in December, to smooth headways and add seats where they're needed most. TapRide Go will extend fully to Metrobus, standardizing the payment experience across modes so riders can change lines without thinking about the mechanics of fare media. These are the changes that make a network feel seamless. A high-speed line is only as strong as its transfer. A frequency boost is only as useful as the ease of tapping in and out. There is, however, a structural concern that Metro has been candid about: the capital funding cliff that appears in fiscal year 2026. It's not a new dynamic in American transit, but it is a consequential one. Without a long-term funding solution, the pace of modernization and the consistency of service could face pressure just as ridership is climbing and customer confidence is returning. That's not a reason to pull back. It's an argument for stable multi-year commitments that let agencies plan fleet procurements, schedule overhauls, and state-of-good repair work with clarity. Recent results show that when the dollars are predictable, the outcomes are visible in the stations, on the viaducts, and inside the cars. As the sun rises over Hawaii's breathtaking landscape, a new chapter in its transit story unfolds.
The second segment of Skyline, stretching from
The Skyline rail expansion, now pushing forward with its next segment, promises smoother commutes and modern infrastructure. But with a $10 billion investment, many wonder, will Paradise get its money's worth? Welcome to Great Train Speed. Hawaii has long been a popular destination for tourists worldwide, especially during the summer months and major holidays. The number of visitors has steadily risen, with over 9.6 million tourists arriving in 2024 alone, according to state government data, contributing more than $16 billion to the local economy. However, this influx of visitors has created significant challenges for transportation in the region. To address the growing issue of traffic congestion, the Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation partnered with Hitachi Rail to launch the Honolulu Skyline Rail Line. With a project cost of approximately $10 billion, this initiative aims to alleviate congestion along the urban corridor and provide a vital connection between East Kapolei and downtown Honolulu, marking it as the largest public works project in Hawaii's history. The Skyline project was initially estimated at $4 billion in 2006, but has since evolved into a more extensive undertaking, now divided into 3 phases. Phase 1. Spanning 11 miles from East Kapolei to Aloha Stadium, this segment serves areas outside of urban Honolulu and includes 9 stations, such as Kualakai East Kapolei and Halawa Aloha Stadium. It launched to significant public interest, with over 71,000 riders during its fare-free period. Phase 2. The second phase of the route to be completed will be the 5.1 miles. Set to open in October 2025, this phase will extend the rail line to Pearl Harbor, Daniel K. Inouye International Airport, and Middle Street, further enhancing connectivity to key transportation hubs. Phase 3. Planned for completion in 2031, this final phase will extend the line to 3.3 miles across urban Honolulu to downtown, completing the 18.9-mile corridor with 19 stations. However, the original plan to reach Ala Moana Center is on hold due to the need for additional funding. This phase is estimated to cost $1.6 billion to complete. Throughout construction, different train technologies were considered, like rubber tires, maglev, cable-hauled systems, and monorails. In the end, Honolulu's system is a lot like other light rapid transit systems, similar to New Taipei's circular line. This system is the first in the U.S. to have platform gates combined with driverless trains. There are 80 cars in total, split into 24-car trains, each with 36 seats and a total capacity of 195 people. They run on standard gauge rails. And now it's going to the second phase, so what's news here? It's all in the next part of the Great Train Speed. And if you find this topic interesting, just hit the subscribe button so you will not miss any updates about the world of trains.
State and city officials got to take a ride of the second segment of Skyline after the opening ceremony on Wednesday.
Honolulu's Skyline enters its most consequential moment with Phase 2. The new segment runs east from Aloha Stadium to Middle Street, adding 4 stations that do more than fill gaps on a map. At Pearl Harbor Hickam, trains meet one of Hawaii's largest employment centers and a globally recognized historic site, serving sailors, civilian staff, and visitors on the same dependable cadence. At the airport, Skyline assumes the role expected of any modern metro, a clean, predictable rail link between terminals and the city beyond. Lagoon Drive taps the airport perimeter economy while Middle Street functions as the hinge, tying the speed of grade-separated rail to the breadth of the bus network across urban Honolulu.
Catch the bus from my house and then I can go straight to the rail because it comes every 10 minutes?
These are real origins and destinations, not abstractions. Flight crews making shift changes, families rolling suitcases toward Kapolei without hunting for a rental car, and base workers aiming for on-time arrivals all find a consistent path on an elevated spine. Phase 1, from East Kapolei to Aloha Stadium, already demonstrated the fundamentals. Driverless rolling stock with level boarding and platform screen doors, stations that handle crowds, and headways that make spontaneous trips feasible. The missing ingredient was contact with the island's primary travel flows. Phase 2 closes that gap, placing Skyline squarely in the core markets of airport travel, base commutes, and bus rail transfers. Door-to-door logic explains the appeal. Clear wayfinding from baggage claim to the platform, short and luggage-friendly walks, and frequent service make rail an obvious first step after landing. From there, trains glide above H1 congestion toward the west side, with a simple, coordinated transfer at Middle Street if needed. Time stays consistent, fares remain predictable, and stress drops. With platform screen doors, level boarding, and automated operations, dwell times stay tight and headways remain credible. Before opening day, the segment undergoes test running and an inspection train regime to validate signaling, braking curves, platform interfaces, and emergency procedures. Cost obviously enters the conversation. Skyline's total now exceeds $10 billion, a figure best answered not by a podium but by lived utility. But Phase 2 is where that utility becomes visible. Each airport trip shifting from rental car or rideshare to rail lowers family costs and reduces curbside and freeway pressure. Each worker trading a 45 to 70-minute traffic lottery for a predictable 25-minute rail plus bus commute gains back time and certainty, the currencies that shape daily life more than any spreadsheet total. With clear wayfinding, seamless bus integration, frequent service, and authentic transit-oriented development, Phase 2 reads not as a middle chapter, but as the moment Skyline becomes the natural way people in Hawaii move. Passenger opinion on Skyline lands in two clear camps, with plenty of nuance in between. Many writers voice high hopes, especially if the line reaches the University of Hawaii, arguing the money is already spent, and the task now is to make it work. Routing debates surface often. Some note long-known constraints around Kualakai Parkway, Kapolei Parkway, DHHL property, and the Hopili timeline, and suggest alternatives like running down Fort Weaver, extending toward Ko'olina, and even pushing on to Waianae Valley. Daily writers who support rail also acknowledge frustration over years of delay and mismanagement, while crediting recent Honolulu Authority for rapid transportation leadership, especially Lori Kahikina, and city partners for course correcting and getting service open, with Phase 2 seen as a springboard to a more transit-focused future for families. On the other side, a blunt minority dismisses the entire project as a complete waste of money. Taken together, the feedback is hopeful but demanding. Finish critical segments, improve execution, and deliver the kind of reliable, useful network that justifies the investment. A wider lens helps. Successful airport rail lines in Tokyo, Hong Kong, and London pair frequency with frictionless transfers and straightforward pricing. Oahu does not need the scale of those networks to adopt the same logic. Phase 2 applies that playbook to local geography and couples it with the depth of the bus network. Hawaii's Skyline is more than a train. It's a test of vision, discipline, and trust. If Phase 2 delivers what it promises, fast, clean, and reliable links between Pearl Harbor, the airport, and Honolulu, it could turn a costly gamble into a lasting legacy. And that's all for today. Thanks for joining in with us, and we hope you enjoy it as much as we do. New Jersey commuters, get ready. Your train experience is about to change forever. NJ Transit has revealed major progress on the multi-level 3 EMU, its sleek new railcar built for faster, smarter, and more reliable service. The latest update highlights testing phases and design refinements that bring this futuristic train closer to reality. This isn't just hype, it's a concrete step toward a smoother daily ride and a model that could influence rail systems across America. So, what exactly is happening with the multi-level 3 and why should riders be paying attention? Let's break it down on Great TRAINSPEED. At first, the backbone of this route was the Aero 3 railcars, a true workhorse of the NJ Transit fleet. For more than 4 decades, these single-level electric multiple units reliably carried thousands of commuters across New Jersey. But after years of service, the fleet began to show its age. Maintenance demands increased, breakdowns became more frequent, and reliability slipped, leading NJ Transit to conclude that the time had come for a new generation of trains. That next chapter arrived in the form of the Multi-Level 3 program, a story of both continuity and change within the American railcar industry. In October 2017, NJ Transit issued a formal request for proposals to supply a new class of bi-level railcars designed to replace the aging Arrows. The base order included 113 units, 58 self-propelled cars, and 55 unpowered coaches, 33 of them cab-equipped, capable of forming train sets without traditional locomotives. Expansion soon followed. In February 2022, an additional 25 cars were ordered, tied to the Portal North Bridge project to boost peak hour capacity. Another 36 were added in July 2024, bringing the total order to 174 multi-level 3 cars. But that was only the story up to 2024. Recently, NJ Transit has taken an even bolder step, announcing its plans for a fully modernized EMU variant of the multi-level 3. So what exactly is behind this latest development, and how is NJ Transit preparing for its arrival? Let's dive into the details in the next part of this episode, and if you don't want to miss any of these updates, make sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned right here on Great Train Speed. Recently, NJ Transit has been pressing ahead with one of the most ambitious railcar upgrades in its history. In May 2025, the Board of Directors approved the purchase of 200 additional multi-level 3 railcars from Alstom, raising the total order to 374 cars. This investment continues the agency's long-term strategy to modernize its fleet, strengthen service reliability, and improve the daily experience for its riders. The order, worth approximately $1 billion, builds on earlier procurements of 174 units and clears the way to phase out the aging single-level cars. The multi-level 3 fleet comes with a wide range of advantages: enhanced mechanical reliability, additional seating capacity, full ADA accessibility, and higher top speeds of up to 110 miles per hour. Compared to the Aero 3's 80 to 100 miles per hour range, this marks a tangible performance upgrade that could shorten journey times on select routes. Safety is central to the design. The new cars comply with the latest federal standards and feature Positive Train Control (PTC), the advanced technology that prevents collisions, overspeed derailments, and other serious incidents. Other safety upgrades include brighter LED lighting, onboard CCTV, and anti-skid stairways with glow-in-the-dark surfacing. Lighting systems also adapt automatically throughout the day, balancing visibility with passenger comfort. For customers, the improvements are clear. A 12-car multi-level 3 train will provide 1,552 seats, an 11% increase over the Aero 3's 1,380 seats. That added capacity will directly address overcrowding during peak hours. Each seat will be equipped with both USB 2.0 and USB-C charging ports, while onboard LED displays will keep passengers informed with real-time updates. Together, these features create a more modern and connected environment, making daily travel smoother and more comfortable. This latest purchase still leaves room for growth, with an option for 50 additional cars available under the contract. And NJ Transit isn't stopping at passenger coaches. In a separate approval this May, the agency authorized the procurement of 12 additional ALP 45A dual-powered locomotives. Able to operate seamlessly across electrified and non-electrified lines, these units will replace older diesel models, boosting reliability while cutting emissions. By shifting from Tier 1 to Tier 4 engines, NJ Transit estimates an annual reduction of about 52 tons of nitrogen oxides, advancing its goal of a greener, more sustainable fleet. Together, the multi-level 3 cars and ALP 45A locomotives mark a significant step toward NJ Transit's goal of fully modernizing its rail and bus fleets by 2031. For riders, the payoff is clear: faster, safer, and more reliable journeys across the busiest commuter rail corridor in the United States. But key questions remain. When will these trains actually roll into service, And how are policymakers framing NJ Transit's broader modernization effort? Passenger reactions to NJ Transit's new multi-level 3 trains have been a mix of enthusiasm, skepticism, and candid critique. Some riders shared short but positive impressions, calling the trains nice, awesome, and even state-of-the-art indeed. For these passengers, the new equipment represents progress and a welcome upgrade from older railcars. Yet, not all opinions were glowing. A few riders expressed a preference for the older single-level cars, noting that the windows on the newer bi-level coaches tend to fog up more easily, making the ride less enjoyable compared to the clearer views on legacy equipment. Concerns were also voiced about NJ Transit's reliance on bi-level designs, with one rider bluntly stating that they shouldn't be all bi-level. The arrival of this new fleet also sparked unease about the future of NJ Transit's existing locomotive fleet, with one passenger remarking, "This is not a good sign," hinting at possible retirements of the classic GP40 locomotives. Beyond the technical details, some comments reflected the deep-seated frustrations many commuters associate with NJ Transit. Riders wondered aloud if the new trains might finally improve reliability, jokingly asking, "Could it be possible I might get to work on time?" Others voiced cynicism that, like many NJT projects before, the trains would arrive late. This blend of excitement, nostalgia, and skepticism paints a picture of a commuter base that welcomes modernization, but remains wary of whether new equipment alone can fix long-standing issues of service reliability and punctuality. What do you think? Are these changes essential for the future of this region's transportation system? Drop a 1 if you believe they're vital, or a 0 if you see it differently. We would love to hear your take. Governor Phil Murphy emphasized that this investment in NJ Transit's fleet is more than just a clear reflection of his administration's long-term vision for safe, reliable, and modern transportation across the state. He highlighted that replacing outdated rail cars with third-generation, multi-level units directly improves the commuting experience for millions of riders, while also stimulating economic growth, cutting emissions, and advancing New Jersey toward a sustainable future. Murphy stressed that such investments are essential for a state where rail is the backbone of daily life, serving both commuters and regional travelers. Alstom America's president Michael Caroulet also praised the partnership, noting that these third-generation cars are designed with advanced energy efficiency, redundancy, and durability features to maximize lifecycle value. Taken together, the comments from state leaders and industry partners frame this procurement as far more than a simple replacement of outdated trains. It stands as a generational upgrade, one poised to define NJ Transit's service standards and rider experience for decades ahead. The investment in the multi-level 3 fleet marks a decisive leap forward in capacity, safety, and passenger comfort. And while rider opinions range from enthusiasm to skepticism, the scale and ambition of this modernization effort reflect a clear commitment to delivering a faster, greener, and more reliable future for New Jersey's commuters. That's all from us today. If you enjoyed the ride, make sure to stay tuned, because the next journey is always just around the bend. It's official. The wait is over. Amtrak is pulling back into Bedford after 50 years, and the revival of the town's rail station promises to transform how residents and visitors alike move through the region. Let's dive deeper into this story together in today's episode of Great Train Speed. For decades, Bedford County, Virginia, has been known for its rolling Blue Ridge landscapes, historic sites, and cultural landmarks. The peaks of Otter rise dramatically in the distance, and Thomas Jefferson's retreat at Poplar Forest sits nearby, drawing visitors year after year. But one thing has been missing from this community for more than half a century: an Amtrak train. The story of passenger rail in Bedford is not a new one. For much of the 20th century, Bedford was served by the Norfolk and Western Railway, which connected residents to cities across the region with its trains. When Amtrak was created in 1971, many of those services were discontinued nationwide, and Bedford lost its daily passenger connection. Brief attempts at revival came in the mid-1970s, when Amtrak's Mountaineer stopped in town from 1975 to 1977, followed by the short-lived Hilltopper, which lasted only until 1979. After that, the trains were gone, and the historic station was left behind, still standing today, repurposed as a restaurant. Yet, even after 50 years without passenger rail, the idea never truly disappeared. For local leaders and residents, the prospect of restoring an Amtrak stop in Bedford has remained an aspiration, resurfacing whenever new opportunities emerged. Today, thanks to a combination of federal funding and local commitment, that aspiration is moving closer to reality. So, what's happening right now? We'll dive into that in the next part. If you're finding this interesting or informative, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any of our latest train updates. In recent months, the town of Bedford announced progress on efforts to secure a future station. The proposed location sits on Bedford Avenue, across the street from the county athletic fields. Initial planning calls for a modest but fully functional passenger facility, what rail planners often call a caretaker station, with essential amenities for travelers. To advance the project, Bedford must secure $5 million in local contributions to match larger federal commitments. The momentum began last year, when the town was awarded a $1.4 million federal grant to cover design and engineering costs. These funds are being used to prepare detailed plans for a station along Norfolk Southern's main line near Macon Street and 4th Street. Town manager Bart Warner described the development as a turning point. It is exciting. It's going from being an idea and a concept to the real thing. It'll certainly bring some more people into the community that our businesses and services can embrace, so we expect to see some growth from that. Also, the fact that Bedford County has 80,000 people in it is another opportunity for them to have access to this transportation if they want to pursue it. We've learned that a lot of the demand for this originated in Franklin County and our neighbors in Smith Mountain Lake. The numbers attached to this project reveal both its scale and its promise. The development phase alone carries a cost estimate around $1.8 million. Federal Department of Transportation funds will cover 80% of that figure, while the remaining 20%, approximately $375,000, has already been committed by the town council. Warner noted that while Bedford is prepared to shoulder the match at this stage, broader regional contributions from neighboring counties and even the Commonwealth of Virginia would be welcomed, reflecting the project's wider benefits. Looking beyond planning, the full build-out of the station is expected to reach roughly $25 million. Under the current framework, the federal government, through Amtrak, and the Federal Railroad Administration would provide $20 million. That leaves $5 million for Bedford and its partners to secure. Town officials hope that surrounding jurisdictions such as Franklin County, along with state-level transportation programs, will join in financing the effort. The grant schedule sets a target of 21 to 24 months from the signing of agreements with the Federal Railroad Administration to complete design and engineering. Only after that will the actual timeline for construction and opening be clear. Still, the outlines of what passengers can expect are already being sketched. Plans call for surface parking, a high-level platform to ensure level boarding, intertrack fencing to improve safety, and designated areas for drop-offs by car and local transit. For Bedford residents, the stakes are high. With more than 80,000 people in the county and strong interest from surrounding communities, a station could transform travel options. Instead of driving long distances to board trains in Lynchburg or Roanoke, passengers would have an accessible stop in their own backyard. For local businesses, the potential influx of visitors promises new customers, while the broader region could see benefits in tourism, mobility, and economic development. The financial structure mirrors many infrastructure projects across the United States. Federal investment provides the foundation, but state and local participation are essential for completion. Bedford's $375,000 match for the development phase demonstrates local commitment, but the larger $5 million share will test the ability of regional partners to rally around the project. Success will depend not only on engineering and design, but also on sustained collaboration across jurisdictions. For now, the station remains on paper, its details still subject to revision as design work progresses. Each step, though incremental, builds toward the larger goal of restoring passenger rail service to the community. Bedford's story reflects a national trend as smaller U.S. towns seek to reconnect with Amtrak and embrace sustainable mobility. Federal programs are giving communities the chance to restore rail links lost decades ago. So what is the government saying about all this? And as a rail fan, what's your take? Do you think bringing this station back is truly necessary for the region? Drop your thoughts in the comments with 1 if you agree, and 0 if you don't. Government officials in Bedford have been clear that the return of passenger rail is a project guided by pragmatism as much as enthusiasm. Town manager Bart Warner stressed that while the effort is not a done deal quite yet, each obstacle encountered so far has been successfully addressed. He framed the conversation not as a political debate, but as a business decision, explaining that with Bedford County's high-density population, Amtrak saw a customer base worth investing in. Warner pointed out that the momentum behind the project was fueled in part by local residents who gathered data and presented it at the federal level. That evidence, he said, demonstrated that a Bedford station meets the metrics Amtrak considers when expanding service. This citizen-driven initiative has been a crucial factor in showing that the project is both feasible and worthwhile. Even so, Warner emphasized that while Bedford is proud to be the proposed site of the station, it cannot and should not be expected to bear the entire financial burden. We will also absorb all the impacts of that, he said, but it's really a regional project. Drawing a comparison to Virginia's $250 million investment in the New River Valley Amtrak expansion, Warner noted that Bedford's request for $5 million is modest by comparison and reflects the town's expectation of state participation. He made clear that Bedford sees itself as a willing host, but believes in shared responsibility across the region and state. From the government's perspective, the benefits of the station would ripple far beyond the town's borders. Warner highlighted that business travelers already living in Bedford and surrounding communities could use the service for regular trips to Washington, D.C., and other northern destinations. The station would also strengthen tourism, offering easier access for visitors and creating what Warner called another point of contact with the outside world. In short, the government sees the station as transformative, an infrastructure investment that enhances mobility, boosts the economy, and connects Bedford more deeply to regional and national networks. That's the end of today's ride. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next departure. Until then, take care and keep your focus on the tracks ahead. If you've ridden Tacoma Link, you know downtown trips are quick and simple, from errands to evening shows. Today's Sound Transit has a big update on what's new for the line, and it could be a step change in capacity and convenience. We'll look at what's happening, why it's happening now, and how construction or rollout might affect your day-to-day. Let's unpack it together on Great Train Speed. Let's recall how Tacoma got here. In 1888, horse-drawn streetcars set the first tracks. By 1912, the city had run a 125-mile electric network with serious momentum. The bus era followed, leading to Pierce Transit in 1980. The modern rail comeback took shape in the 1990s when Sound Transit proposed a starter light rail linking the Tacoma Dome to downtown. Voters approved it in 1996. Construction began in 2000, and Tacoma Link opened on August 22, 2003, Washington's first modern light rail line, at a cost of about $80 million. Ridership met expectations and local interest grew. The brand evolved too. Orange Line in 2019 became the proudly orange T-Line in 2022. Today, the T-Line makes downtown trips simple. Trains run end-to-end every approximately 12 minutes, 365 days a year, with free parking at the 6-story garage next to Tacoma Dome Station. By 2024, the line carried 919,603 total passengers, averaging more than 3,600 weekday boardings. That steady demand signals something bigger, a resilient city choosing rail again, and a corridor with room to grow as more riders discover how the T-Line connects neighborhoods, jobs, and hospitals. Quiet progress with clear results. Recently, Sound Transit announced that Tacoma Link ridership exceeded expectations. So how are the new stations performing? We'll break down the numbers and what they mean next. If you're into this, hit subscribe to get the latest rail updates right here on Great Train Speed. Take a look at Tacoma's streetcar. It's a comeback story with spark. In September 2023, the Hilltop-Tacoma Link extension stretched 2.4 new miles onto the original 1.8-mile spine and more than doubled station coverage, pushing service into Stadium and Hilltop with a real sense of momentum. Sound Transit expected the expanded T-Line, about 5 light rail vehicles cycling on weekdays, 100 riders per car, to land 2,000 to 4,000 daily passengers by 2026. And then the city showed up. Since 2024, demand has surged to the top of those forecasts, and attendance has blown past them. Roughly 1.5 million boardings since 2024. Average daily boardings of about 3,618 in 2024, rising to 4,079 so far in 2025. That's not just recovery, that's a pulse returning, especially after the pandemic trough, when monthly averages slid from 3,658 in 2019 to just 1,282 across 2020 to 2023, compounded by a 10-week construction shutdown in October 2022. Operations feel reliable, almost reassuring. Weekdays deliver 162 trips, Saturdays 150, Sundays 52. And in 2025 to date, the T-Line has hit 99.5% of scheduled trips, with complaints held to 6 or fewer per month since May 2024. One ambition is still out of reach, shaving headways from 12 to 10 minutes, but right-of-way pinch points and the need for operator recovery time have kept the cadence at a steady 12. Think of it as disciplined, not sluggish. Dependability now, capacity gains next. And yes, the fare box finally clicked on. After 2 decades of free rides, backed by a modest $29,000 annual contribution from the Downtown Tacoma Partnership, the T-Line charges $2 from adults. Fare revenue hit $314,000 in 2024 and has already reached $180,000 in 2025, modest next to roughly $20 million in annual operating costs, but symbolically potent. Riders aren't just hopping on a streetcar, they're buying into Tacoma's urban future. One tap, one trip, one neighborhood connection at a time. Taken together, the picture is clear. A compact urban rail line, expanded stations, reliable rolling stock, and rising ridership. In a U.S. context where many cities still wrestle with funding and service frequency, Tacoma's T-Line shows how consistent investment, measurable targets, and patient corridor building can lift an everyday connector into a quiet success. So, what are council members and neighbors saying about this milestone for the T-Line? Cautious optimism gives way to a quiet, growing confidence, and you can feel it. Sound Transit spokesperson Jackson says ridership is rebounding, with light rail recovering strongly in Seattle and Tacoma, and the T-Line clearly riding that same wave. On policy, Councilmember Christina Walker, also on the Sound Transit Board, sees unmistakable demand and real headroom to grow as more people discover the service. Tacoma Dome Station is already emerging as the heartbeat of the line, its web of train and bus connections pulling trips together like a magnet, though Walker wisely avoids declaring winners and losers by station just yet. Her bottom line lands with a satisfying thud. Every rider on the T-Line is one less car clogging the streets. On the neighborhood front, the energy is palpable. Councilmember Jamaica Scott says feedback around the new Hilltop stations has been overwhelmingly positive, echoing what she's seen on the ground, curiosity turning into habit and habit into pride. The numbers hum in the background. Hilltop District Station, with nearly 122,000 boardings since 2024, 6th on the line. St. Joseph close behind in headlines, but ahead in activity. 5th with more than 151,000. Add it up and the message is unmistakable. The T-Line is working. People are choosing it, momentum is building, and the city's transit future feels a little brighter with every departing train. And their vision might not stop there. Momentum like this tends to write its own next chapter. What about you? Has this service done enough for passengers? Drop 1 if yes, or 0 if you think it needs an upgrade. By 2039, Sound Transit aims to stretch the T-Line to 8.4 miles, adding 6 stations from St. Joseph to Tacoma Community College, an east-west spine that would knit more neighborhoods into the system. The latest cost outlook shows a $20 million project affordability gap, and while staff are working to close it, spokesperson John Jackson says there are no fresh updates beyond the board initiating another reassessment process in response to continuing financial headwinds. In other words, the vision is intact, but the math is under review. Leaders say the 2023 Hilltop extension came with hard-earned lessons. Councilmember Jamaica Scott points to the very real strain construction placed on Stadium District businesses, empty sidewalks, disrupted access, and months of uncertainty, and argues the next phase must do better with proactive outreach, mitigation funding, and clear timelines. Over the next 2 years, Scott adds, the T-Line can be a live testbed to spot gaps in Tacoma's broader network and target future upgrades. For Councilmember Christina Walker, the task ahead is as cultural as it is capital. Keep raising awareness so riders understand what the T-Line is and what it isn't. It's not a commuter rail like light rail is in Seattle, King County right now, she says, but it really is that connector up and down the hill. As more people discover that role, short, frequent, neighborhood-to-neighborhood trips, the case for thoughtful expansion strengthens, provided the project balances ambition with affordability and keeps small businesses in the loop. The T-Line is writing a feel-good chapter for Tacoma, street level, human scale, quietly transformative. It shrinks distance without the drama, brings new riders into the fold, and gives daily life a smoother edge. You can feel the lift on platforms and sidewalks, a little more ease, a little more pride, and a lot more let's go. Extend that feeling across the map, and you get a city that moves with intent, simple, frequent, connected. Keep nurturing that spirit, and this neighborhood line becomes the heartbeat of a brighter, rail-first Tacoma. That's the last stop for today's journey. Thanks for riding along with us. If you enjoyed this trip, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss the next one. Until then, safe travels, and keep the train spirit alive. The numbers don't lie. Public transit is booming in Virginia. Amtrak Virginia's ridership climbed to over 1.4 million in fiscal year 2025, up 4.8% from last year. With infrastructure upgrades now essential, what's being done to keep pace? That's what we're exploring in today's Great Train Speed. This is the gateway between Virginia and Washington, D.C., and it's being rebuilt not as a simple replacement, but as a multimodal corridor with a new Potomac River rail bridge paired with a parallel bicycle pedestrian bridge, plus a sequence of connecting structures and landings that thread through East and West Potomac parks and back into the district's street grid. For over a century, a 2-track span has carried everything Amtrak, VRE, and CSX at or near capacity. With ridership growth on the passenger side and sustained freight needs, there's no more slack. The project is organized into 2 major construction packages. On the district side, the Long Bridge North package, budgeted at around $1.6 billion, began early works in April 2025. Crews have already removed out-of-service track to clear the way for new alignments. They've completed demonstration-drilled shafts and micropiles. Traffic has been shifted, and the 14th Street access ramp at Main Avenue Southwest is closed, opening a tight urban work zone so bridge and utility activities can proceed safely. Current efforts focus on reinforcing the crash walls that safeguard the bridge piers. Work on crash walls D and F is almost finished, while upgrades to crash wall C will extend into 2026. After the Long Bridge project is completed, train tracks will be relocated closer to the piers, making it necessary to further strengthen the crash walls that protect the piers supporting the Maryland Avenue overhead. Selective tree clearing in East Potomac Park is also underway to make room for construction areas and upcoming project work. South of the river, the Long Bridge South package carries a $1 billion budget and focuses on the invisible backbone with subsurface knowledge and structural integration. Survey crews have mapped utilities and alignments. Monitoring devices are on existing structures to track movement as construction ramps and geotechnical borings have been drilled in the Potomac River to characterize the soils that will carry piers and abutments. Right now, the team is deep in scope validation and coordination. Permitting for test piles and riverbed investigations is underway. Once approved, the test pile program begins, giving engineers real data on capacity and depth. In parallel, marine bulkhead construction will start. It helps to picture the corridor from the George Washington Memorial Parkway northward. First, the twin structures, a new Potomac River rail bridge and a bicycle pedestrian bridge, both launching over the parkway and the river to separate flows and relieve pressure on legacy infrastructure. Mid-river, you pick up additional spans and retaining walls as the alignment threads through East and West Potomac Parks. There, reconstructing the Metro I-395 bridge, the Ohio Drive Southwest Bridge, and the Washington Channel Rail Bridge is part of the plan, along with landscape design that knits the engineering into parkland rather than letting it feel like an intrusion. Finally, near Main Avenue Southwest, the project lands with a new rail bridge, fresh retaining walls, and a pedestrian bridge that tightens urban access near the waterfront. For daily riders, that means a corridor built for throughput and resilience. For cyclists and pedestrians, it's a long-missing cross-river link that turns a rail choke point into a genuine multimodal asset. Beginning January 2026, construction at the Long Bridge will run on recurring 5-hour daily outages for as long as 5 years. Washington, D.C.'s noise and vibration rules restrict major activity to the day, and VRE's peaks in the morning and evening slice those days into even smaller workable blocks. Add the Northeast Corridor's pulse to and from Washington Union Station, and the midday window becomes the only logical slot for heavy work. The plan is to wring every minute of productivity out of those windows while using Long Bridge outages to synchronize other corridor improvements. Even with careful scheduling, you'll feel it. Expect impacts to Amtrak Virginia services, select Amtrak long-distance trains, the Carolinian, and VRE's Fredericksburg and Manassas lines. The guiding principle is clear: keep the railroad moving, even if slower at times, while building the capacity that will make tomorrow's schedules both faster and more reliable. If the Long Bridge project clears the river, the Alexandria 4th track clears the approach. From the southern end of the Long Bridge project beside the Long Bridge Aquatic Center, down to just west of Alexandria Union Station, the Alexandria 4th track project adds one new main track to a corridor that already carries Amtrak, Virginia Railway Express, and CSX. On paper, it's a simple addition. On the ground, it's the key to unlocking a chronic choke point where 3 VRE Fredericksburg line tracks and 2 Manassas line tracks funnel into just 3, forcing passenger and freight to share too little capacity at the worst possible place. Trains stack up, schedules slip, and a delay here ripples straight into Arlington and across the Potomac toward Washington, D.C. The solution is straightforward. Shift the existing tracks within the current right-of-way, add a fourth, and separate movements so that freight and passenger services stop stepping on each other's toes. Removing the bottleneck creates headroom for more Amtrak Virginia trains, steadier VRE peaks, and cleaner freight paths. Exactly the mix of passengers needed when demand rises and supply chains still depend on rail. The design is intentionally coordinated with upcoming VRE platform upgrades at Alexandria and Crystal City, plus a new Amtrak platform planned for Crystal City. Now, how are they doing on cost and schedule? The project's budget, first set at $210.5 million about 5 years ago when design was around 30%, has been refreshed to a proposed $238.4 million. That's not scope creep, it's maturity. As designs sharpen, quantities get real, and constraints show up in black and white. Bid-informed ranges tell the same story, a low estimate at $230 million, a high at $252 million. Add boundary surveys that expanded the right-of-way acquisition program to 31 parcels, and in urban rail, parcels mean time and dollars, and there's no shortcut. Layer on the choreography of building around live railroad operations and adjacent projects. Construction phasing that protects current service inevitably carries complexity. Finally, market feedback mattered when CSX issued the invitation for bids on June 26th, and 4 bids arrived on August 28th, giving planners real prices to calibrate against. The procurement cadence is crisp and frankly impressive for a corridor this busy. Right-of-way acquisitions kicked off in May. The IFB went out in June. Bids landed in August. Cost evaluations wrapped on September 9th. VPRA's final budget review followed on September 16th. The project update is planned for October 7th to clarify the scope, responsibilities, and funding. The contractor execution date is slated for November 4th, with bid pricing valid through November 24th to keep decisions inside the procurement window. So, how does this tie back to the Long Bridge project? Think of the 2 projects as a single system. The Long Bridge is the gateway across the Potomac. The Alexandria 4th track is the approach that feeds it. When the 4-track segment through Arlington and Alexandria comes online, dispatchers get the flexibility to stage and route trains cleanly into the bridgehead. When the bridge adds new capacity across the river, Virginia gains the headroom to run near-hourly Amtrak frequencies to Richmond without constantly tripping over freight or pinching commuter peaks. So, here's your quick viewer question. Will these projects finally end the bottleneck and improve rail service? Drop a 1 if you think this is the fix the corridor needed, and a 0 if you think more is still required downstream. Your take shapes what we cover next. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching.